Welcome to the Campfire Passport podcast. I'm Sean. Just Colin with me here on the intro. Today's episode is mostly us arguing, just in general. Not Colin and I. Colin and I don't argue that much. Usually it's behind the scenes. We don't like to argue on air. But Mike and I love to argue on air, and Jesse likes to throw his opinion in on that. So it's Mike, Jesse, Colin, and I talking about IFS versus solid axle, which is a strange conversation to get to from going over a SEMA recap. And then we sandwich that in with an 80s on Edison recap kind of scenario too. Other than that, I don't have anything. Colin, what do you got?
I'm gonna release the Land Cruiser shirts. I'm gonna put those live now that we've done the 80s on Edison trip that I basically used as the release for those. Gave a couple away on that trip, so that was kind of cool. And so I'll put those live probably this week or this weekend, something like that. So you can get those wherever you follow us from.
Yeah, get them while they're hot. So busy that I didn't see the funny stuff, or I'm sure I saw some of it, but like I didn't notice it because like in years past it's been a little bit less business focused than it was this year for me. So it was different, but there was a lot of stuff, both good and bad at SEMA, which is the thing we're going to talk about first. What was the dumbest thing that you saw then, Jesse, since you brought up specifically the funny things?
Oh, it was all the brodozers.
There's a lot.
The brodozers that specifically had the worst fabrication with the best powder coat. And it was like, how much shit can I hide?
Yeah.
And somebody, I don't remember who, went through and did the a compilation of the missing front drive lines.
Yeah, that's always a good one.
And it was all those very iridescent color powder coated 4-link front with no drive lines and shit fab.
You know, the thing is, and I was telling Colin this before we started, I didn't look at everyone, obviously, and I didn't look at that many of them, but I did have a few people that I stopped by that had those types of trucks, the big brodozers in their booths, and everyone that I saw was put together well. Like, I don't like the style, but like, there's some of them that I go, oh, okay, cool. It's got like some neat stuff going on. There's some bad stuff too. Like I saw one with air over coil like setup, like a double bellow bag over a coilover. Probably 6 inches of travel by this airbag. And I was like, when you got 30 inches of lift and 42s with 30-inch wheels, like I don't understand what this extra 6 inches is doing. Like, you can't make the case to me that you can lower it and go through the drive-through or something. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But anyways, I didn't see a lot of actually busted up ones, and maybe it was because it was just in the regular booths, like the bumper companies and things like that. I did see one thing that I want to bring your attention to that I didn't know existed until a coworker explained it. There were 2 trucks there that have a Young Dolph wrap on them. Have either one of you guys heard of this?
Like Dolph Lundgren?
No. Young Dolph.
Young, not young.
Not old Dolph.
You're skewing very old here.
I'm sorry. I thought it was like some sort of young Dolph Lundgren from Rocky. And I'm like, okay.
Just the young version.
So Doc and Jesse, just so you guys both know, Young Dolph is a rapper. And I don't know this for sure. I'm going to speculate without Googling. I think he's from Atlanta, is my guess. And I'm going to tell you why I guess that. It's because apparently there's a rap shop in Atlanta that has, I'm not kidding you here, a limited edition wraps, meaning one of 100 or something, that they will do on your vehicle that is a young Dolph wrap. It's not his face or anything. It's not even anything crazy. It is camouflage. And it's like kind of a bad like Bape camo kind of scenario. I don't understand it at all. And also I think it definitely, like, you're supposed to have bright orange wheels or like bright orange interior. The dually that was that had it was a really cool truck, except for it had like bright orange interior and this silly wrap. Like, it's not the worst wrap, but it's weird to me that there's a collaboration vinyl wrap. Like, I don't get that at all.
So, just to be clear, for those of us that don't know young Dolph, he's not a rapper, R-A-P-P-E-R.
Yes,
raps
he is.
vehicles.
No, I can see how there'd be confusion there. He is a rapper.
That's the play on words
He spits
that they're
rhymes.
going for.
Yep.
Okay.
But there is a
I'll just interject.
collaboration rap.
He used to spit rhymes. He is no longer with us. So
R.I.P. Young Dolph. Sorry about that.
yeah, and
Was
not Atlanta. He was born in Chicago and was murdered in Memphis, Tennessee. So
That's weird. I don't understand
there you
why Atlanta Custom Wraps is the company that is doing this, but it is. Weird.
yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
His second cousin is Juice WRLD, and his cousin by marriage is Key Glock.
Interesting.
So-
Wow, so family. Family affair.
Yeah.
I know none of those names.
Well,
I'm sorry, I don't know those names.
I'm going to, let's see. So I think the deal is that he wrapped his cars in this camo type pattern, and then now the Atlanta Custom Wraps has made their own like version of it that they will do for people. There must be a connection. Maybe they wrapped his cars or something, but I can see the confusion. Like I said, he is a rapper. And he liked to put vinyl wraps on his cars. And now at SEMA, there was at least 2 that were wrapped by the former rapper's design.
Okay.
Yeah, makes sense?
Yeah, okay. Now, where were you going with that? Sorry, I got lost.
I have
Quite
no
the
idea.
rundown.
I have no idea. What got me there? Brodozers.
Brodozers,
There was a
orange
brodozer
wheels.
with that wrap. Oh, I think I was just saying it because of the brodozer thing. It was very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think all the ones that I saw that were poorly built were outside. Like
That's what it seems.
posted
That's
up
usually the
close.
no drive line section is the outside. I also saw some drive lines that they had like window cut so that it matched their poor axle trusses.
Oh,
So they had like
I've seen that.
designs cut into
Diamonds or something.
the drive shaft. Yeah, I'm sure it holds up real well when being driven, if it ever gets driven. I don't know.
I mean, on the freeway and 2-wheel drive, I think it's fine. Probably.
On and off the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most of the brodozers are outside anyways. In fact, I think almost all of them. I don't know if I've ever seen one inside, maybe in the tire area. I guess there's probably 10 in there. But there's like the TIS Wheels people and like American Force, and there's a bunch of companies that do that kind of stuff, and they're in those booths, and they're huge. They got to have these, like, Mike's been there, so he's seen it. They got to have these, like, 20 by 60 booths and have 5 trucks in there plus their gear, and it is insane because it's like wandering through fake monster trucks the whole time.
Yeah.
And then
the
after
bulldozers suck because you can see everything. They're so tall, like you're not hiding anything underneath of there.
No, I thought last year I had the same thought, and I think it was better this year. Like, it seems like the quality is better than it was in like years past. Because like I remember, 10 years ago, it seemed like every one of them you saw, you were like, "Whoa, that's bad." And these are like not good, but they're at least there's like some decent fabrication on them or whatever. It's, you know, it's not my style, but I get it. It's a thing. People hate ridiculously low cars, so whatever. To each their own in a way.
I don't get it, and to each not their own. It's not a good deal. I will just.
This is not okay.
This is not a respect every build. They're dumb.
Oh man, of course.
I remember looking at stuff and being like, you know, the product that they are selling looks great. Unfortunately, like, you're selling taillights with a lifted Silverado that people can't, like, you can't see the taillights. They're up there. Like, what?
It seems like most of them.
Yeah.
Most of them are wheel companies at this point, or bumpers.
Yeah.
That's like the big crowd, which is, I just can't. What blows my mind is the amount of money that these guys are putting into these trucks, and the shops that are building them. And I don't understand how it works. Like, I don't understand who's buying them, who's any of it. I talked to a coworker knows a guy that's in that part of the industry, and we were talking to him about it, and he had a build there that was a mild brodozer, not like anything crazy, but it was still, you know, big wheels, tall, but not like it, not like, I don't even know how to explain this, but it's like a foot shorter than the other ones, so it's like in between.
Yeah.
But this dude's talking about how this truck has, you know, easily $200,000 into it. Like, that's what he's got into it. And I'm like, but what are you going to do? Like, what? And he's like, oh, just, you know, we just sell them. I'm like, to who? Who is buying this?
I can show you. Just come to my house. We'll take a quick drive to Lake Oswego.
Are there like legit brodozers? I mean, like, not like I went to Les Schwab and got the 12-inch lift in the 40s. I mean, brodozer, powder coated, chrome, the whole thing.
There's a couple of them. And
all
they
right.
tow their
boats,
their fancy ass boats,
yeah,
which I don't know why, because they live on the lake, so you just tow your boat around.
How else is anybody gonna see you?
And their boat trailers have nice, like, not
matching
nicer.
wheels and stuff.
I was gonna say nicer wheels, but that's not true. They have more expensive wheels. Expensive does not mean nice, but they have more expensive wheels than what I have on any of my vehicles.
Well, that's not hard to do.
And the trucks are $100,000 to start now. So, like, it's a $100,000 truck with a $100,000 build that the shop is selling all the stock parts, and they're keeping that. And you get powder coated, you know, Dana 44s.
Well, I mean, I think they're almost all using 1-ton running gear, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but I know, but like, yeah.
It's a weird phenomenon, and I know it's like a Florida and the Texas thing. Like, that's where those trucks are big. Maybe Arizona even a little bit, but like, so we don't really see it other than Jesse living where he does. But like, I can think of two maybe around Central Oregon, and they're not really what I would consider like a SEMA brodozer. They're just really big lifted trucks that happen to be new and have maybe American Forces on them or something. Which is like, that's a forged 26, 28, 30-inch wheel. Like, those things are expensive as hell just on their own, let alone all the supporting mods, I guess is the word that I would use to go with them.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
The wheels
stretch
and
mud
tires are
terrains.
worth more than
Yeah.
they're worth more than the Tacoma was.
For sure. Yeah. 100%. Like, those wheels are that cost. It's, oh, look, there's the puppy. He's great. So anyways, that was kind of that was a thing. That is always a thing. SEMA is like, I like the Formula Derp account years ago that coined over Fender Nationals. That's the other thing. Got a lot of, you got to throw a Rocket Bunny kit on everything, and it's still that way. But there's always, it's crazy to me that there is so many good builds too. Like, in between all that, like sorry for everybody that's listening for truck things, but the Garage Active R32 in the Gretty booth, like, that is a legit $750,000 Skyline build. And yeah, it's a ton of money, just like a stupid brodozer is in a way, but like, it's 1,200 horsepower and it still has air conditioning. It's got a leather interior. Like, it's really cool. Like, it's very next level when it comes to an import type car. built in the way that maybe you see like a Ring Brothers car, or like an ultimate, American build in a way. That those types of cars, those really high level cars, like I think the only way you're going to see them a lot of times is something like that. So
what was the vehicle that was like dropped there? Because I remember a long time ago when I went, they were dropping the BRZ FRS.
Oh, you mean release? Got it.
Yeah. It was already out, but like it was there in person as the like that. They didn't have an interior yet, and it was all tinted everything.
Yeah. So there's
like
been
that.
there's less of that more and more, and the deal is I always, like, anytime this conversation comes up, I always try to remind everybody it's the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association. That's SEMA, right? It's automotive aftermarket. It's not the OEMs. So Stellantis, for example, pulled out of the show, right? And there's always a conversation like, oh my God, SEMA's going to hell because Dodge pulled out. Dodge has nothing to do with SEMA.
No,
Dodge is there because they want to get their cars in the hands of all these aftermarket companies, right? And they're hoping that aftermarket builds. And yeah, it is weird that they're not there. It was bad when Ford pulled out. All those things do have an impact, but like overall, it's for Magnuson, it's for Mosier rear ends, it's for Fox, it's for ARB, it's for all of those companies to show off their stuff less than it is like Subaru or whatever. That being said, last year there was a lot of 400Zs or new Zs, right? Like that was kind of the hot new thing at the show because that was like what everybody was doing. I think S650 Mustang was probably the thing. There was a few of those.
It always seems like the thing that's going to be most likely to be modified next. So the FRS guys were trying to get into that zone, and the Wrangler guys before that, and the Focus ST guys at that point. And so I just didn't know if there was anything that like, we know that the new Mustang or the new Tacoma or the whatever is going to be the next hot thing they're building for.
Yeah, I mean in West Hall, so where the off-road overland stuff was, there was an Ineos there, which was a pre-production one. So that's pretty cool. First time I've ever seen one of those in person. It delivers. It's very cool. It was dirty as hell underneath too, which was awesome. They were talking about how beat up it was when they got it. And then a couple new Tacomas. ARB had the Trailhunter one in their booth. And then the Toyota, there was a Toyota booth in Central Hall, and that one had the GX, which we saw at Overland Expo Pacific Northwest. I don't know, 2 or 3 different Tacomas, new ones, a Pro, and then the two Land Cruisers, the square headlight and the round headlight.
That's cool.
And those were cool in person. I mean, they're exactly what I've seen online, and it was exactly what I expected. It's exactly, from the outsiders looking in, it's exactly the same size as the GX. So, which is cool. It's just as boxy. It's awesome.
Back to back, front to front, looking at them side by side. What's better, the round headlights or the square headlights?
That's a great question. I looked at that a couple of times because I walked by it a number of times, and I like the package that has the circle headlights because that's the cloth interior with everything else, kind of like the cheaper one. Does look a little FJ Cruiser, if I'm honest, from the front. Just a little bit.
I can see that.
The square headlight, the square headlight one has like, it doesn't, like, I know they're trying to evoke like FJ62 or whatever, but I don't see that. It just looks a little more modern to me. Like it looks like a contemporary, like, Land Cruiser thing. Like it's got some retro vibe to it, but it's not trying to be, a Challenger or something like that. It's like it's got some movement forward. So I think I prefer the square headlight. And you know what? I'm a sucker for like leather seats and stuff like that too. Like maybe that would be the one that would be fine anyways. But the cheap person here really thinks that the cheapest version that comes with a locker would be the one that I want too. So I don't know. They're both cool. I actually really liked both of them. I just think that the first thing that I saw or thought when I saw the round headlight one in person was, ooh, that looks a little bit like an FJ Cruiser. And I do not like the way those look. Speaking of FJ Cruisers, sorry to interrupt you, Mike.
Yeah.
FJ Bruiser, which was all over the internet, was definitely one of the cooler things there.
Yeah. That's where I was going. I was going to ask about that.
Okay, good.
Too. Yeah. Tracks as a skid plate. That's no matter what you're doing, like that's cool.
Yeah. For anybody that's living under a rock and didn't see any SEMA Toyota coverage, that is the FJ40 based, which I think is like a 45 because it's a truck. I don't know. Please don't butcher me for this because I'm not sure.
Comment down below if you know Sean's wrong.
Yeah, email secretrcp@gmail.com to tell me I'm wrong. FJ40-ish truck with a NASCAR V8 and like a, what do you call that top fuel like thing that comes out of the top like the Australian burnout cars have? Big
Blower?
throttle body thing. Yeah, it's not a blower. It has like the big intake that comes out of the hood. I don't know. Super cool.
There's a
Looks like a
blower
drag car.
Blower?
Yeah, blower hat, but like without a blower. So I don't know.
That's odd. Well,
Yeah,
you gotta
weird.
keep the rain out of it.
Yeah. 42s, crazy boat side thing going on, and tracks for a skid plate, which is the most SEMA concept car nonsense I've ever seen, but
Yeah.
sure would help if it worked.
I love it.
It just looked like a snowmobile track
Yeah.
that moved slow.
It was, so to put it in perspective, it would be like, and I'm sure you saw the pictures, but it's basically from link to link, the belly of the truck, almost that entire length. There was 2 tracks side by side. So yeah, they look like a long snowmobile track, but they were like short. They didn't have that big snowmobile kind of paddle thing. They were really short, like half-inch tall.
So they're burned out snowmobile tracks.
Maybe, yeah. I hope they use it.
Hot
It'd be
knife.
really cool to see them make some content around actually using that thing because it's gnarly looking.
The axles aren't that far apart though, and so like for a vehicle to have, is it like super stretched? I could never tell from the pictures.
It is bigger than you'd expect. Like it's
Okay.
I don't know what the wheelbase is, but it's like a JK. It's that kind of wheelbase at least. Like
Okay.
that. Do you want to measure it real quick?
Yeah.
The like no overhang because the 42s stick out at both ends enough that it doesn't have any overhang, but it has long links and it's front and rear 4-link, and so those links come together and there's probably only a 4-foot section or so that is the actual belly of the truck.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty decent distance. I was thinking it would be smaller than that.
No, it was pretty big. It actually,
Okay.
since it's on like, the Super 80s or Dynatrack whatever's, it's big. Like everything about it is built. So it's rare. I feel like it's starting to get less rare, but it's weird when a truck has 42s and you don't really realize they're 42-inch tall tires. You just kind of think, oh, that's pretty proportional, and you go, oh wow, those are big tires. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
It might have been stretched because
definitely not stock looking.
According to this, the FJ45 is what the trucks are.
I was right.
Yeah. The wheelbase is only like 96 to 104, and the 104 would be the double cab one. Would be my guess. So that's pretty short. I don't know that thing looks that that short.
Man, it looks like
What a
looking at
got to be like 120 inches, right?
116
116.
is a JK 4-door, yeah.
I'm just looking at pictures of the Bruiser, and it's got, I don't know, nothing. It says it can go 165 miles an hour at 7,000 RPM in its highest gear, but I don't think that's true.
Mathematically. Yeah, mathematically.
Mathematically, yeah.
It's not going to do that on the street.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty crazy though.
Did
It's still a very,
Did you
very
go-
cool build. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's neat. Did you go and see the Wagoneer at the Keystone booth?
Yes. So that had, I'm sure you already know everything about it, but it's got the Icon chassis underneath it, right? Not the Icon, the Roadster Shop chassis, that one that's like uses stock, whatever, Ford or Chevy parts. I think they're Chevy parts. It's really cool. And that thing was, I didn't realize it made it into Battle of the Builders, and I saw it over there. And when I saw it over there, I realized it's got like some wild engine in it too.
It's an LT4.
Forget what it was. It's an LT4 because a big supercharged LT.
Keystone?
So,
Like
yeah, they're
Yeah.
like the beer?
no, they're
the rapper.
No.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Young Keystone.
Young Keystone.
No, it is a Keystone is an automotive aftermarket distribution company. So they're like a big. Oh, come on!
Just joking.
You were joking. You couldn't have given me that one. God,
you can keep saying it, but I'm.
All right. Well, anyways, young Keystone was there.
Yeah, I was mainly I was
40s and rolling on them.
trying to figure out what because I didn't like look anything up about it. I was just watching the videos and whatnot that I'd seen of it, and the suspension is weird from what I could see of it. Like it's IFS at least. I didn't see if it was rear also, but
it's got like big rear trailing arms.
Yeah, it's got trailing arms and coilovers, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it was pretty cool. Like it's not, what am I saying here? It's not that it would actually probably do really well for what we do, as far as our things, right? Because it's like, the Tacoma argument or things like that. You don't necessarily need a solid axle to go fast on dirt roads and go camping. Like that truck would probably be really great at that.
Oh yeah.
But it is an IFS truck. It's fine. I mean, I think for the it's just like a lot of this stuff when we talk about these high-end builds, right? Like for the guy that wants to spend $200,000 on a Wagoneer, like it'd be, sorry, Jesse, let's get into this in just a second. It's going to drive a lot better because it's IFS. And that's what they're going to sell with that chassis. There was a square body Chevy with it. There was one without any body on it. There was probably others too, but the square body was really nice. It was like a single cab short bed, 33s, like looked really tame, but a full build with that Roadster Shop chassis and like an LT engine as well. And like that'd be a really nice driving truck. Like it's going to drive way better than a K10 would with, a 350 and a Danny 44 in the front and leaf springs. So I think that's kind of, that market exists for that reason. It's not for us.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not going to disagree that IFS drives better on the road.
I thought you did disagree because we talked about the GMC
that was me.
Sierra Grande. Oh, that was Mike? You said that it drove better?
I've driven a bunch of different vehicles, and in my opinion, my brother's F350 Platinum drove better than he had the same model year Chevy 1500 Trail Boss, and that rode much worse. And
this is where I said literally every automotive journalist in the world would disagree with that statement.
I get it.
I bet I would argue you to find one.
But all the automotive journalists know things that they know, and everybody who puts their butt in the seat of a truck is going to decide what they think feels more comfortable and what rides better. And it's probably a combination of the seats are bigger, the interior is bigger, you're up off the ground more, you've got way more shock, like room for bigger shocks in the F350. It just was a much more comfortable. I felt like I had a trailer on the back, and I felt like I was driving a Cadillac.
That is why. Let's talk about that for a second.
Want to make a one-ton?
Talking about a one-ton.
Yeah, you want to make a one-ton truck ride good?
No, I get it.
Start hauling shit.
Yeah, you need to put a load on it.
I've been in it both ways. Yeah, but
here's the thing, Mike.
Much more comfortable truck. Yeah.
Jesse owns one.
Does your your F Series truck drive better than your Tacoma did stock? Like as far as comfort and ride comfort?
There's no way. It is a nicer truck.
That is an unfair question to ask because one is a 1-ton, one is a 3/4 ton, or one is a 1-ton truck.
Yeah.
Like they're totally different vehicles. Now, I can compare my dad's Chevy 3500 to my F350. Going over like speed bumps and stuff, I'll take my 350. It goes a little bit better, but we're also talking going over stock. Over stock, I take a solid axle. I think it would ride better because once you start changing the geometry of the IFS with your very stereotypical,
when you're modifying it,
you're modifying it, yes, IFS loses that comfortability. So
I think it does quicker. I think you're right. Yeah.
stock,
I just think stock for
IFS is
stock,
better.
though. Yeah. And also, I mean, like, to answer Mike's question, there's no way
I
that an
have no
F3.
question. I have no question. I made a statement, and you think I'm wrong, and that's fine. But I didn't ask a goddamn question of any of you.
Let's
I
back
said
it
what
up.
I think. No,
Didn't you say, Jesse, did your Tacoma ride as better than your F350? And I think, one, it's half the price. So there's that. But two, of course it did. It's a small truck. It doesn't.
agree.
It's a small truck with remote reservoir,
Yeah,
bypass
like-
shocks. It rode fantastic.
My
I loved
Colorado
that
was
truck.
wonderful, but it was not better on the road driving around than my brother's F350. It didn't feel more comfortable. It didn't feel.
I think
It fit more places, and when we got off-roading and doing all the off-road stuff we did with it, it was wonderful. It was great. Driving around town all over the place, doing normal things. The interior, all that stuff's nice and great. It did not feel like a more comfortable truck than the F350 Platinum I sat in and rode in.
I think that part of that is definitely, it's obviously there's personal preference there, and I will not take that away from you. You feel what you want to feel with it. I'm going to yell at you, but you feel what you feel. That's okay.
And I'll yell back. That's why we're friends.
But also, like, I think there's a difference between ride quality, and this Platinum has, lumbar and massaging seats. Like, those are two different. Whoops, I'm gonna knock my microphone over. Those are two different things completely, right? Like,
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
100%.
I'm not talking about the comfort of the interior. I think new Super Duties are fantastic. I absolutely love them. If I was in the market for a full size truck, I would buy it every day of the week over the other options. No question about it. I think they're great. If someone said, "Hey, I want a nice riding truck on the freeway. I don't like small trucks, so I don't want something tiny. I don't want a car. I know this is ridiculous. Should I buy an F350 or a 1500 Silverado?" I'd say you need the Silverado, because
an F-150. That's
or an
not-
F-150. No, I'm just saying.
What are you trying to?
Well, just between those
I
two,
know.
because those are the two you said, right? It's
Right.
because I know 1-ton unloaded trucks with 80 psi on their tires on the freeway ride like shit. They also get terrible mileage, and even with a diesel, they're not great. So I know a half-ton.
to Eugene and got 28 miles to the gallon.
That's amazing. Well, I know a half-ton truck is always going to ride better. That is part of the reason that there's a difference between them. Like, it just does. It has less load capacity, so it's lighter sprung and a lighter truck. And there's less rotating mass. There's all those things go together to make a truck that rides better. Would I rather have the Silverado? No. I would take the Super Duty.
We're arguing. The argument started about the 3500 on 40s that had
Yes.
chicken wings. So 3500 with chicken wings is going to have the same the same heavier duty springs, the same heavier duty shocks. It's designed to tow the same weight, and it's going to be just as uncomfortable as that F350.
I think-
It just doesn't make sense to build
I
that
think you
platform
could-
that way. That's my.
I think you could say that, right? I think that it's a much fairer argument to say it would ride as bad as a Super Duty than to say there's no way it drives better, right? To me, I think it probably on the road handles better than a Super Duty of equal build. And I think that's just because of rack and pinion steering and independent front suspension. And those are the only two reasons. Is it stiff? Probably. Is it... So the other thing, after being there and looking at the truck and talking to them, it's a moot point because it's probably never going to exist. It is the concept, and they are probably trying to push it so that maybe it comes to be something. But all they're doing is
does look
showcasing all of the products that they're going to sell off of it, which is really neat.
Yeah.
But the thing that amped me up on the internet, for everybody that's listening that is not part of our just tiny little group chat that we talk about all these things all the time, is that the bold claim that straight axle is always better really gets me. And I prefer straight axle. I do. I drive a straight axle rig. I want that always. But I don't subscribe to the notion that it's better. Like all of this time and research and development that goes into all of these new vehicles is not for nothing. Like
Right. But I also will argue that Formula One uses this huge fucking aero, and if you put that on a Super Duty, that would not be helpful. It doesn't make it better.
It would at
It might-
speed.
yeah.
If they could go
You know what I
fast
mean? But,
enough,
like,
yeah.
Just because there's good technology in a thing, yeah.
But
Just
here's the
because
thing,
there's
Mike.
Good technology. That truck, it is probably cheaper to do it that way, or it is probably more useful so they can use the same products in the same way in a different thing. And there's all kinds of other things that go into it. So just because they are doing it doesn't mean that it is better all the time. I do agree that if you had a car, most SUVs, any CUVs, any of that stuff, it's better to have independent suspension. There are a lot better options than a solid axle in the rear of a car or what. That I'm all with you there and all of that stuff. I just don't think it always translates to the next thing. It just sometimes, like, the Super Duty is on a solid front axle and the Chevy is not, and the Dodge kind of is, depending on which one you get, I think.
It is.
Some of them was. And
All
so
the,
there's all this
all the
different
heavy
stuff.
duty.
So I don't subscribe also to the it's been designed to be better, therefore it is better, because we've had fucking Pontiac Aztecs and people put a lot of money into figuring that shit out, and I don't think anybody thinks it's better.
Listen, I mean, there's always misses, right? But like, I think that what I keep going back to is, and I'm not saying that automotive journalism is this end all be all that no one can topple, right? Like, there are definitely people that are wrong. But what I'm getting at is, like, if you start looking into it, there are a lot less champions for keep old tech around than there are like, hey, let's make this modern, let's make this new, let's make this better, right?
Yeah.
And that unfortunately in trucks is independent suspension. Live axles are ancient technology and they work well and they're strong, which is why we use them in off-road scenarios, right? But like, they're heavy. I don't know. There's a bunch of other things that that people that are much smarter than me are using to benchmark this, right? And maybe Chevy is the main one in the heavy duty truck market, right? But I don't think that's just because of cost savings. I'm not saying Chevy is awesome and that they don't do things because of cost savings. I'm sure they do, but there's got to be a reason, right? There's got to be a reason that they're doing that, and they've been doing that and stayed away from solid axle for so long at this point. And you can make the argument that, like, Jeep, for example, right? Like, Jeep is they get regularly bashed by like Motor Trend and places like that, outlets that are looking at them as street vehicles because they have solid axles, right? A live axle handles terrible, they're unpredictable, blah, 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 heavy down the line, all these things. And people in those worlds love the Bronco in the alternate thing, right? Because it has independent suspension and it's a little bit more road characteristics are better and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. The Jeep is probably better in most scenarios where I would use it again, but I don't think that they're wrong. I think that preference, 100%. Actual fact, I don't know. If you start putting numbers to numbers, I don't have the info in front of me, so I couldn't tell you, but there is a story that I think probably leans towards that independent suspension is probably better in the most scenarios, right? But personal preference is personal preference. So.
I think it's a law of diminishing returns, right? So basically, the thought there is that the ride difference isn't enough, like isn't better enough to say that it's the better choice to go independent in the front in a full size truck, with that, since that's what we're talking about mostly here, in comparison to the truck that's got a solid axle. It can't be that much better. And I do believe that the other part of that, one of the reasons Chevy did the independent suspension, which I could be wrong, but I think it was because they were making them so that they sat lower, because it's harder to get a solid axle rig to sit as low to the ground as what the Chevys are. The Chevys are, I'm pretty sure, are lower than the other options are And that was what they were shooting for, was they wanted to sit lower to the ground for all the old fogies and for aerodynamics
Grandma and Grandpa,
and things like that.
Yeah.
So there's that, like, they did it for X reason, but a lot of people that actually need to use the trucks in the truck way, they are probably looking at it as it's not that much better. It's not enough better, drivability wise to say I want to get rid of the solid front axle.
Yeah.
Well, and the Forest Service and the county and the city and all the government entities buying full-size trucks for anything are all buying Super Duties.
I mean,
would you rather service an IFS front end, or would you rather service a solid front axle front end?
I'm gonna say this, and I'm sorry for stirring the pot more.
Bronco's the best Bronco ever.
I want you to prove that to me, because I have seen plenty of half-ton Rams and half-ton Chevy trucks with Forest Service colors on them, and they're all IFS. So
but go.
I'm not saying that there isn't Super Duties, because there definitely is, but tell me that there's none of the others.
They're taking whatever they get the best deal on. They don't care what the brand is. It's whatever they got the best deal on at the time. That's all it is. That there is no loyalty to anything when it comes to government vehicles like that. They don't give a shit.
The railroad, there's most full service vehicles that you see on the road are Ford Super Duty trucks.
I mean,
wild.
By a very large
the
margin.
the ones that Mike is talking about, he's talking about the ones that have specific purposes, i.e. service bed trucks and things like that. Sean is talking about just in general, they also have fleets of just trucks that are just there to be trucks, and that's it. So, like,
and they're off-road.
3 Ford Lightnings. No, I'm not talking about all vehicles. We're still talking about F-350s, F-250, the service level, the 1-ton real rig vehicles. You're not seeing Chevys, you're not seeing Dodges at nearly the numbers. By a statistical margin, they don't exist if you go across enough platforms. It's the more common thing that you see. So there's probably also a reason for that.
I think it's a great product, right? Like I've said that. So
Sean,
you don't have to explain to me that the Super Duty's good, because I think it is. I just think that So let's backtrack real quick. This argument started weeks ago because AEV released their GMC Grand Sierra concept, which is a single cab, brand new 24 GMC HD truck with a tray bed and 40s, and it is super sweet. And it was at SEMA, and that's obviously, if you haven't caught up to us, that's why we're talking about it. But our argument over the internet, which is fun because that's the way we love to do arguing. If you think we argue here, you should hear us on the internet. Was that
share the message thread?
Yeah, exactly. Was that we should start a Discord or something.
That's not a bad idea.
I don't want to deal with it. But it was basically the IFS versus straight axle debacle, which we've all gone into a million times. And really, most of the time, there's not an argument. It's mostly everybody bashing IFS stuff. But I just kind of got on the mode where I was like, I want to argue the other point of this, because I don't think that that's completely the truth. And whatever. I still like I said, I still prefer it. I still prefer. Like I said, what I said to Jesse and Mike in that thread was like, if you gave me a budget and I had to build a truck, and one of the trucks was this GMC, which I think is awesome, and the other truck was like a Harley suspension equipped limited Super Duty, I'd take the Super Duty every single day of the week, no matter what, no exceptions. I just would. I like it better. I think it looks better. I think everything about it is better. But the AAV is pretty fucking sweet. So
yeah, it always boils down to, it's a time and place, and what you're going to use it for.
Yeah.
There's for this entire group, our entire group, I feel like solid axle is always the choice.
Yeah.
But IFS works for about the other 80%.
Oh yeah, for most of our driving, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you built for most of your driving, you would break at all the other things that we try and do.
Yeah.
You
Or
just
just wouldn't do the
broken
other
20% of the time. Yeah. Then it works for 100%.
I was gonna say, well, now it's broken 10% of the time for 20% of the driving. So
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
I will say I'm excited to see Colin's perspective of snow wheeling from the Range Rover last year to the Waggy this year.
I think it's gonna be night and day difference, but
Probably.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of the Super Duty, though, Sean, I'm gonna hold us here on the Super Duty just for one extra second here.
Sure.
So
on the truck patch.
our last episode where Mike's ugly Super Duty was one of his selections, and you've mentioned you've mentioned this before, Sean, and I had to take note of it and actually look it up. But you really love to promote the 6.2 gas engine. And here's the problem: is it's the wrong year, Sean. Those were not available. Those weren't available till 2011. I had to look it up. So those were not available in Mike's ugly body. They were available in the next body.
Oh.
So you're still well out of range here with your 6.2 talk.
Okay.
Well, then you got to bump up to $7,000 because you can get a 2013 with a 6.2 for $7,000.
So that's the buy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, moving up just a couple grand. Yeah.
That's the 10K range.
Yeah.
I'm literally considering that. I'm trying to put together a plan because the red truck is so much too much valuable. Like, it's just ridiculous. The prices on those are still up too high, and like, it sucks to start in the winter, and our dogs don't fit in the back seat with my kid anymore. And like, I'm like, man, 4 doors would be nice. And so
Did you put a block heater on it?
Figuring out what the plan is. It blows every time. There's something like wrong with the truck. I put 3 block heaters in it, like went down to Napa and bought one of them, ordered one, and every single time it'll blow the fuse in line and trip the breaker on the house. Every time I plug it in. There's something there's absolutely nothing wring with the truck. It is for sale. You can email me at secret.
Sell it before it catches on fire.
It sounds like you have some sort of ground fault. Do you have
something
there's
something wrong with it.
Trail off too far, but are you GFCI protecting between the?
I've plugged multiple. I've run multiple plugs, and I've plugged it in at a whole different house, and it's still.
You tried a different extension cord?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing things at the wall. I don't know.
No, I know. I drove to my parents' house and I plugged it in.
Mike, you've sold vehicles for much less than that as far as reasons, so that's easy.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at. We're just trying to figure out, because we're going to be camping like the overlandy stuff out of the Jeep now. We figured out that that's kind of the plan. We liked doing that. It was good at doing that, and the truck is going to mostly be camping like at our easier camp spaces or camping with the family or things like that. It's just, I like taking the red truck, but some other people would prefer I didn't. I could see him right now.
You mean everyone else in the group? Yeah. Is that what you mean by some other people? Is that what you're referring to?
I don't think there's anybody else who really knows. It's not like there's been a vote or anything. But yeah, so the value of it is just it's still low miles, and it's a good 7.3, and it runs great, and it starts every time, and like
you just said it didn't start every time.
Yeah. No, it starts. It just won't.
It's hard. It's hard start. It's a hard starter. Yeah.
Let's go. We could go pro-con list here. Like, it's got low miles. I can't fit my dogs in it.
Yeah.
It runs great. It barely starts in the winter.
It doesn't start as well.
Your Facebook market out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have 3 batteries connected, and I cycle the glow tugs 4 times, and it'll start, but is not happy about it. So that's the game you play.
You should
I figured,
put the bed back on it and sell it.
Yeah. I'll probably keep the flat bed on it because the bed was pretty dented, beat up, and tell people they can have it. So
You're ugly Ford.
Yeah. And then, you can get a super ugly one.
Ugh.
yeah, but
It'd be great.
cheaper and easier and worth,
Less?
Worth what?
worth less.
Yeah.
Which is fine,
You stopped that thought
That's
real
ideal,
short. And worth just disappear after that.
Less money and currently tanking. But you have a solid front axle. So.
I will have a solid front axle, and that's what I'm really looking for. And I'll have back seats that fit things. So
Kid
Cool.
and dogs.
Kids and dogs, always. Well, now that we've just wrung the hell out of that argument.
I'm going to build a Super Duty for Edison next year. That's what I was going to get into next.
All right, yeah.
Super.
Wow. Good. Nice work there. Just kill it right on the.
I thought you were coming.
He was firing up for something, and then it just went away. Lost his confidence.
Oh, no, I never intended to follow through with that. I was just really hoping that somebody would cut me off earlier than that. It's on you guys.
Well,
I don't know why you'd let me get that far into that thought.
That's great.
I'll let you go as far as you want to go. I love watching the Mike show. It makes me happy. Watching you be happy, building whatever the fuck it is you want to build.
Thanks.
And it's, I know we give you shit, but you know what? It's great. You get to make mistakes, so later I don't have to.
Which is fine. I'll do that for you.
Thank you.
It's good.
Did you buy a 4Runner that had way too many miles on it?
Oh man, I wanted to bring that up, but I didn't want to bring it up because I was concerned about your mental state with it. What happened, Jesse?
Yeah. For all our listeners, Jesse, go ahead and give the story.
Hang on. What time is it?
Can I start the story
You've got enough time.
by saying that before any of this, no. Jesse called me talking about a whole different issue, and I was like, "Go ahead, man. I think that it's like go right for it. I think it's all right."
We'll get to there. Let's back up.
Oh shit!
So, found a 4Runner for Anna, and so I sold the Tacoma because actually on the last podcast I hadn't sold the Tacoma yet, and we promoted it. Well, actually, you guys did on the 80s on Edison podcast. So I sold it, and I got my asking price, which was great. I was super happy. The guy's super happy. So, pumped. And then with some of that money, I wanted to put some of that money towards helping Anna buy a 4Runner, which she's always wanted. So searching, and we've been searching since I put the Tacoma up for sale. So was that like a year ago?
Yeah, you had stickers at the last, not this Alvord, but the one before.
Yeah, I think it was more. I mean,
it's always been loosely.
Yeah, it was.
Sale.
It was for sale, quote unquote. But you didn't really start trying hard until.
Yes. Everything is for sale except for the wife, kids, and dogs. So.
If you gave me enough, you could have the dogs. Okay.
Well, joking. I don't know. Yes.
Joking.
Yeah, you know what? Both of my dogs are kind of assholes. So
he's sitting right there.
So yes.
Yeah, that's for you, Doc. Ducky's pretty nice.
So anyway, we've been looking for quite some time for a 4Runner, trying to find a good deal on one, and we found a good deal. It was $9,300 for a 2007 4Runner, right color, and
4.0 or V8?
4.0. Love the 4.0. It's a great motor. Mm-hmm. So
they'll go 350,000 miles.
Yeah, I know. So I contacted the guy, made up a meet, went to go look at it. Had surface rust underneath. So I was like, kind of like really standoffish about it. There was a couple other red flags about the whole ad. Still went to the meet, drove it
The
around.
Facebook?
The Facebook. So drove it around, drove great, perfect, not a big deal. Inside was a little bit dirty. Got done with the drive, told the guy, I was like, hey, I'm going to go talk to my wife really quick. We're going to discuss it for a second, and I'll come back and let you know what we decide. I go back to him and said, you know what? I'm going to walk. It's just, a little too much. I don't want to pay that much for what you got. I think that the rust really concerns me. I think it might actually be from the Midwest or something like that. And it's just too much. And he's like, whoa, okay, hang on. He's like, well, how much would you give me for it right now in the condition? I said, $6,000. And he said, well, how about 7.5? I said, take a second. I'll go back and talk to my wife. And that's when I called Mike. I was like, Mike, so this guy actually came down to 7.5. What do you think? And we kind of talked through it. And Mike, you're a great person to bounce things off of. Good conversation.
Thanks.
And ended up with coming to the conclusion of, is it worth $2,000 to work with the rest? Yeah, with 134,000 miles, a little bit of rest and some work. Yeah, I could make a $9,000 rig pretty quick. So I ended up pulling the trigger. The funnest part of the story is, and Anna's going to hate me for this because she's not going to listen to this podcast, but somebody else might, and then tell her, is we were leaving the sale. We get 5 blocks away from the sale. She takes a right-hand corner, and I'm following her in the Super Duty. And she calls
real comfortable
me. She's
ride?
like, it's really comfortable. She calls me. She's like, did you see that? I was like, what do you mean? I didn't see anything. She's like, the back end gets squirrely when I accelerate. I was like, I'm like, okay. She's like, it starts wagging all over the place. Like, it starts shaking. It's like, okay, well, there's a parking lot straight up the road. Let's go park there really quick. I'll take a drive. So park there, take it around all through the parking lot, doing a lot of acceleration, braking hard acceleration, nothing. And I can't get it to do whatever it is. I'm like, get back. And I'm like, hun, were you just pushing on the skinny pedal too hard and getting the back end squirrely? Just, no way. I wouldn't. I know how to drive. And I'm like, I know you know how to drive. I'm not trying to insult you. Just, it's a rear wheel drive with, a considerable amount of more power than your front wheel drive Mazda. So she gets back in the 4Runner, get back in the Ford. We get onto the freeway. She takes another right-hand corner, accelerates, and then calls me again and says, did you see it? And I said, no, I didn't see it. And she said, I think I'm just giving it too much gas. You're probably right. So get home. And man, we're both pumped on the rig. It is a really nice car, or a nice 4Runner. It's a little dirty inside, but with a detail, it's going to be super clean. But then Royce comes over, a friend that works at a dealership. He's like, oh, shoot, this, man, think that this is cool. Great. This is good for you. Give me the VIN and I'll run it at work tomorrow so you guys can have the service records. Royce calls me at 8 o'clock the next morning and says, I got some bad news for you. And I said, what? He's like, it doesn't have 134,000 miles on it. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, in March 2022, it got serviced at a Toyota dealership and it had 335.
Whoops.
So, I had.
That's more than double.
You double check the VIN, right? He double checked the VIN? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Double check the VIN. VIN is correct all over the body, so all the body panels have the correct VIN.
He put the right VIN in?
Yeah. And something, I got them right here. So somebody changed out the cluster, or this person that I bought it from changed out the cluster. Good news. I did file a police report with the sheriff's department, talked to them. And since I hadn't gone to the DMV yet, there's actually one other sale of the vehicle between me and the title holder. And the sheriff ended the conversation with, you know what? I'm going to go check that out. And so probably tomorrow I'll hear back from him. I don't expect to hear any good news. I started the conversation with him as, I fully expect you to say at the end of this conversation, there's nothing I can do.
Right.
And I'm just going to live with this decision. I got had, and I'm going to make the best of it. But let's see what happens. So,
Well,
I'm excited about it. It's going to be
when
a
you
good
showed
read.
the title with the spot scratched off of it afterwards, all of us were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
just a little cringe there."
A lot of lessons learned there. I still feel pretty stupid about it after every time I tell the story. I just feel dumber every time I tell it because I keep recalling all these other moments, and it was just like, fuck me.
Yeah. Didn't you say he forgot his wallet so you couldn't get a view of his license or his driver's license number? His Facebook account was from this year, and it only had 3 pictures on it.
Yep.
Yeah, that one did get me. But the driver's license thing, like, I don't know if I've ever checked anybody's driver's license buying a car. Jesse and I had a conversation as well, and I told him he is welcome to come to my funeral when I die during a bad car deal and yell, "I told you so" from the back. Full permission. It's on the internet now, so that's okay. Nobody be surprised, because Jesse, unfortunately, had gotten ahead of himself and got a car that isn't as sold or as it was supposed to be, or as advertised, I guess is what I'm saying. I don't do any of this prep, and so I'm lucky to have made it to where I've made it. But I also don't move as many cars as like Mike, so there is that. But
I have a system. Like I go through all kinds of checks and balances. I take pictures of all of the money, the bill of sale, both driver's license next to each other. I have a photograph of that from every vehicle I buy and sell. I go through it, like, I don't hand anybody money until the title shows. I have just like this list of rules that I always follow. And if you break one of them and I don't have the right justification or a good, like, cost, to risk that matches there, I've walked away from deals that have been, Sean was with me in Eugene.
Salem.
Salem. Like, you just walk away. You're done. I don't need to buy it. Like, I had a great adventure with my friend, and now we're going to head back to town. But, like, if I'm going to buy a vehicle without a title, I at least need to see that the registration is in your name, or that you were the last registered owner, or I'll take
that's
on
a
that
funny
risk. But, like, we're moving.
Yeah, if the reward
way.
is worth it. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like, I have some of those too, right? Like, I will not buy a vehicle without a title. Like, there's no amount of proof. I don't care. Unless it's held by a bank, I'm not doing it just because I don't want to deal with it, right? So that's like a difference that we have, and I do have those. But, like, Jesse was talking about, like, circling the parking lot and making sure he's not going to get jumped, and I was like, never one time has that crossed my mind.
I've never thought of that.
So, that was the amount of red flags, though, that I had before.
Well, yeah, maybe you were just on edge, yeah.
I was so... Like, I parked away. Like, I saw him, and I parked away, and I waited for him to park and to see if anybody else was kind of, like, following him. Because I was just like, there's so many red flags about this sale that just have me on edge.
Yeah.
And I didn't... I did... all that prepping beforehand. I didn't listen to my intuition, and I still went through with it, and now I'm at where I'm at.
Well, you judged the risk and you took it, and that sometimes works great. If this vehicle was as advertised and you got it for $7,500,
man,
you'd be the king of the fucking world right now. We'd all be clapping for you, and like it's been great. But it didn't go that way, and you took a risk. But you're really, again, once the cluster is corrected, you're kind of just market value on that 4Runner. It's
I'm probably out $2,500.
Maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't a deal, but like honestly, if you clean it up really well, you could probably sell it for just about what you bought it for. Like you wouldn't lose out a ton with some elbow grease and some tire shine. Yeah.
I got to do what I do best, and it's buck up and fix the fucking rig, and you know what?
Yeah.
Either live with it or don't.
Yeah.
It's a Toyota. I've heard they can go for so many miles. Don't even worry about it. You just keep driving it and enjoy it.
300,000. You got to pull the engine. That's it.
If there
too late.
So if there are two things. First thing, if you know anybody with a neck tattoo on their left side it's only an outline. I have a really good description of this guy, but I won't get into it. But he's got a neck tattoo about above collar length, about 2.5 inches tall, a caricature, only black outline, holding a rifle at about a 40 to 45 degree angle. That's the guy.
What kind of rifle?
It was like a more of an AK or an AR.
Okay, I was gonna say, you're describing Elmer Fudd. Like, what you said, a character. Like, what
Yeah, it's just over his back like this, like a blunderbuss.
No. Holding it a more like on their chest.
Oh, add attention, you mean?
So if you ever see that person, add attention.
Just email
If I see that
secret
person, I'm
RSVP
probably gonna keep
at
moving.
gmail.com
RSVP.
if you know this man.
Over. Yeah.
That's the move. God. Well, I'm sorry, Jesse. I know I said that before, but I am.
Shit happens.
Yeah, it does.
And you fuck up.
I still think it's going to be a great rig for Anna to drive around. I think that it looks plenty safe. It looks like just clean enough. Like you don't really have to worry about more than just like washing stuff. Like you're going to be great. I think that what's the thing that's going to go bad with high mileage that's more likely to go bad than just something breaking, right?
I think Doc's about to tell us.
Well,
Finally woke him up. He's like, "Oh, let me tell you about the mileage on this thing." I think if all else fails, Jesse, you just yard out the engine, put an LS in it, put a Dana 60 or a pair of them under it.
Are you going to sell it, actually? You're going to get rid of that
get rid of that IFS because we don't want it driving good.
Yeah.
And bingo, new wheeler.
Yeah.
Keep your crawler on the trailer on the side of the house and build this truck. That's what I'm getting at.
There we go. Perfect. I bought a cab for the crawler.
Oh.
Nice.
What cab did you buy?
No, I'm just saying the 4.
That would be the cab. Yeah, I was gonna say that, except for like there are some things that the 4Runner has a multi-link rear suspension already, so you might want to kind of play around with that, or I don't know, just yard the cab off there and put it on the other chassis. Good to go.
Yeah. If anything, I'll sell it. But you know what? It's happy. It's here. It's home. Yeah. I got my work cut out for me, but you know what? That's never scared me before.
Yeah.
I once bought a 4Runner and the wheels tried to fall off on the side of the road on my way home, so I get it.
Well, that one was way more of a piece of shit than this one.
Oh, I don't know. I bought it for a lot less money, and it was the thing that I thought it was going to be. And then I put wheels and tires on it, and I sold it for about what you bought that for.
Touche.
Oh, man.
That was a great, fun little flip. Like, that thing went way better than I thought.
Which one was that?
That's the
white one, right?
The 3-liter, second gen 4Runner. Remember it had the blinky lights underneath of it? I only had it for a minute.
I don't even think I ever saw that one in person.
It was gone so quickly. I didn't. Yeah. I got wheels and tires from Aaron because they had takeoffs from a modern 4Runner, and then and they already had larger tires, and so I swapped those on and washed it real good. Took off all the just asinine dumbass child stickers, like your butt stickers, and it was so ridiculous.
The IP on your Ford sticker stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
One of them literally just said butt, and I don't know if there was more to it before and it was gone, or if that was the whole thing. Like they figured, that's just butt. But yeah, they cleaned all that off. I cleaned out the interior and sold it to a guy in Sisters at the Les Schwab. He was stoked. He's like, yeah, I'm going to build a crawler out of it. So it's a good enough chassis and cab and all that for that. So we're good. But yeah, that was one of my best flips, time, money, effort wise. Oh man, I'm stoked.
It's a good one. Jesse,
it did try to kill me on that side of the road
No, you're good. Okay. Just making sure. Yeah.
So
singing.
It was a bummer. That's all that matters. It was a bummer. And working through it. That's all that matters.
I'm sure, it'll work out one way or another. Good, bad, who knows?
I got a fucking 4Runner.
You got a 4Runner.
Later. And
it's great.
You know what? Those are great rigs. They're great motors. It's going to be super fucking clean come Friday.
Oh, did it have decent service history in all of that time? Well, that's good.
So, here, hang on. I got it right here. Shit.
This week on Jesse Fumbles
is like I can't even there's just pages and pages and pages and pages.
Oh,
nice.
So the guy who owned it up until 335 had it always serviced at Toyota every single time. So and it was every stupid little thing that he felt that was an issue always took it to Toyota.
Yeah, that's good.
So, we've had this conversation as
at 266 the glove box isn't closing it correctly.
Oh my god.
Well, haven't we had this conversation as a group though, that I would rather buy a high mileage rig with great records than a low mileage rig that's a question mark? Because they might have swapped the dash and you never even know.
Well, I also I would rather have something that's been driven and maintained than sat all the time, always.
Yeah. Yep. Same.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
An extra 200,000 miles. I don't know.
That's a lot of being driven.
I'm trying to help you, man. I'm trying to make this. I want you to feel something.
No, I appreciate the support, but yes, it's a lot.
It's funny. I thought about trying to do a different mileage on my cluster after my swap, and I was like, I can't do that. There's no if it gets one owner away, I just can't have that on my conscience at all.
Yep.
So I did do this one time, and so it's when I did a Suburban. I did a flip with a Suburban, and the cluster didn't the readout on the cluster didn't work, but I had the one from the LS swap.
Got it.
And so I sold the guy the Suburban with the cluster with the correct readout on the mileage on it, and I said, here is a cluster that works, but it has the wrong readout. You can change it out, but you understand that if you sell this with this stating this mileage, that's fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I gave him the cluster with it, and he changed it out.
Yeah. When I sold the TJ, I did kind of the same thing. I took the cluster out of the Jeep that had the correct mileage before the swap, and I put it on the shelf. And then when I did my swap, the digital setup that I have for my speedometer wouldn't go high enough to match that. So I just started it at 0 for my swap. And then I handed it to the guy and I said, this plus this equals mileage. That's what you got. It will always it'll always be the case. If you just keep this thing, this plus that is how many miles are on the whole Jeep. Now, none of the axles were original. The transmission wasn't original. It had a new transfer case. Obviously the motor and trans and all, nothing in it except for the seats had, that, and it was only 140,000 miles on the Jeep when I sold it all together. But I was I don't want this to be weird or anything, but it does not have 4,100 miles on it, just so you know.
Yeah.
Those body mount mileages matter.
Yeah. That's it. That's the last thing left. That and the steering wheel. Yeah. It's just a weird gray area because you do kind of want to keep track of your swap time.
I have an easy solution for that. Just swap it out at an even number.
I don't have an easy solution. I swapped out the Suburban, and I have no way of tracking how many miles are on it.
Yeah, but that's got a 5-digit odometer too, right?
Oh, no, the odometer doesn't work.
Oh, well, the part that works is 5 digits, though, yeah?
No, none of it works. The odometer does not work.
If
Okay,
it did
let's
work,
back up. If it did work in 1979, I know it's not a 79, but like when it was
76.
working, yeah, that odometer has how many digits?
Oh, yeah, that one has 5 digits. But the
okay.
odometer that I switched into it, because I had to get the VSS-driven speedometer, that one doesn't work. And I have no idea how many miles are on that truck now.
What I'm getting at is 5-digit odometers on 50-year-old vehicles.
Don't matter.
Yeah.
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 Doesn't matter.
That's it.
I have no
And on that
idea how
note,
many miles. I don't care. Who gives a shit about the miles on your rig? Just take care of it and fucking figure it out.
Yep. That's right. Take it to the dealership for glove box issues. Good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the odometer went out on my Super Duty. I had that '06 a long time ago, and dropped it off for them to fix it, and they gave it back with 10,000 fewer miles. So
I don't understand how that happened. That's crazy. Oh, different cluster, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, at the dealership, and well, you guys have the warranty to service, so
It's on you.
you just extended it a little bit. And I even brought it up. I told the guy, and he's like, "Yeah, we don't have it written down as anything different." So, okay.
Oh God.
They went back to the last one. So,
Well, I know we strayed a little bit. I did want to hear about 80s on Edison, but
I was gonna say, do we want to talk about that, or do we want to push that to a different day?
I wanted to hear about it, but I know only 2 people here were there.
I don't know. 3.
We had a surprise third.
I did.
Okay, do tell. I do want to hear about it now.
So I'm gonna let. No, I'm just gonna tell my part. I came into town around noon ish. No, my flight got in at like 12:30. I came home. I loaded a new revision to my tune into the Land Cruiser, and had Lauren come with me and the puppy, and we mashed up to the top of Edison, and I met them when they got to the top. And then I drove down the backside with them, and it rained and rained and rained. And then I went home. It was awesome, though. It was a great event. Awesome thing that they had going on. A lot of cool rigs, but I missed all of the good stuff for sure. Other than the raffle, which was amazing. And the food. Food was really good, too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Evan sounded from the podcast. It sounded like Evan had some really good stew lined up.
Ethan, yes.
Ethan. Sorry, Ethan, not Evan. Ethan.
It's okay.
Whatever. I don't know. I'm not.
How did it go from the Jeep side?
Well, I mean, it went better for me than it did for Mike.
I was a little bit more tentative than I normally would be. Yeah, no, that's for sure.
Jeep guy broke something on a Toyota trip. Way to go.
Yeah.
First major obstacle. Yeah. I broke, I didn't tighten my steering stabilizer correctly, and it popped off. So that was the break. But I put it back on there, and then after that, I was like, man, I had back surgery 3 weeks before that, and I got it all fixed, and then I was like, I'm sore and uncomfortable. I don't want to have to break anything and fix anything else. And so I was very mild from there. I did all the medium stuff. I tried the hard stuff, but anytime it felt like anything was a little bit off, I was like, I'm not going to break here. And also, I'm not going to make other people recover me because I can't do it myself. I just was like a little bit less than normal. And then now I've bought a real big skid plate for the underside, so I can go a little harder for the next time, because that felt a little bit awkward. But I had a blast. All those guys are super cool. They're laughing and joking and taking fun lines. And I was told already that I have been adopted by the group, which is nice. So
because eventually you'll have an 80.
Have I had one yet?
No,
I don't think so.
Not that I know of.
Eventually you'll get one.
Yeah, probably. I mean, statistically, it's probable. There's only so many cars left, and I'll have to buy some.
I just sent Sean a $2,000 one that's also red to go with all the rest of your red cars.
Yeah. It's crashed on the other side. Yeah. I looked at that and I was like, no. Nope.
They only brand the title once, Mike.
I know. But that one looks like there's some other issues past cosmetics. So one of the tires points further over by a lot than the other one.
Yeah, Jesse, we started the
sounds like a normal thing.
We started the day showing up, and there were when we showed up, everyone was kind of just standing around BSing, and I saw a group of smiles as I pulled in, and Mike was behind me, and then Mike said that all the smiles turned into grimaces when they noticed that he was behind me.
Oh yeah, no.
So
I pulled up.
So that's how it started.
My window was down, and someone literally yelled. Yeah, my window was down, and as I pulled in, someone literally yelled, "No, no!" It was like, that was it. Just
no. There's
shit.
only one cheater chassis allowed to be on this fucking trail.
No.
Yeah. So, but it was
That's
all in good fun, and we basically just gave him the like, hey, like you're gonna be followed. We're just gonna bring up the back, and it's just that threat of if you get stuck, you might have to get recovered by a Jeep, So they were all very, very cautious from that point.
Everyone worked just a little harder. Yeah.
I'm not stuck. I'm not stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's motivation.
How did the new shirt design go? Did you brought out new shirts, right?
Yes.
I wore this one.
Yep. Thank you. There we go. There's
not
the
that
cheater
one,
chassis.
I know that's what I wore.
Yeah, I gave away two of them in part of the raffle that Sean was talking about. I was definitely the more forgotten item, I'd say, on that raffle, because there was some impressive stuff on that raffle. So, yeah,
$700 towards a bumper on one of them. Like, I was like, oh,
yeah, they had some people step up.
Yeah.
Full axle, like a Burfield service kit, bumper stuff, other gift cards, a Dometic, like a holder thing, like water jug holder, all sorts of cool stuff. Belfab did it. Who else? Like Delta Vehicle Systems, a couple other big name.
yeah, the 9
people.
What was
it
the
was really cool.
911?
Oh yeah, 911
Yeah.
Motorsport. Casey, he did a jack kit. He does those really cool off-road jacks. Yeah,
I wanted
really
that.
cool.
That was cool.
Yep.
Nice.
So,
Well,
yeah, we stood in the rain, like, to the point where I was walking back to the Jeep, and I had been back and forth a couple times, but we stood out there for the raffle and everything. And when I was walking back towards the Jeep, I went from a place that was dry when we got there, like it was raining on it, but it was like a dry area, to almost ankle high on my shoe, full shoe of water on my way out. Just a full one whole shoe of water getting into the Jeep going, oh, great. At least we're going home.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of rain. It was just pouring.
Sean missed the good part of the
it was
day.
wet.
Like
It looks like
it started off just kind of like chilly, but it was
looks like
dry.
it just kept getting worse.
Yeah, it was like totally fine. There was like no rain until we got to the top of the hill, like, where that little corkscrew is, and then you go up the steep hill where we watched that guy slide down the hill and hit the guy that was parked at the bottom of the hill, because that's the way you do that. But like you go up that hill,
save your butt.
yeah. You go up that hill, and then there's that one little, like, I don't know, semi-rocky climb. It's not like it's like this little, it's just that little short section. We got up to there, and that was their stop for lunch. And it was like right as we were getting there, that's when it started to rain.
Yeah.
And then it didn't stop the rest of the night, and it just like got progressively worse, it seemed like.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was pretty wet. I was stoked that I brought an extra jacket and left it in the rig the whole time so that I could take my wet jacket off and put the dry one on so that I could drive home.
The dry one on.
Yeah, and all morning it like sprinkled off and on just enough that there was no dust. There
Yeah,
was
that was
no
nice.
it was perfect. It also started raining just a little bit while I was sitting under my Jeep fixing the front steering stabilizer because I was like, oh great, this is the time for this. And then it backed back off and it was fine. But I was
I
like,
didn't have
shit.
back surgery right now.
Yeah. Well, I'm just like sitting crisscross applesauce under the front of my Jeep in front of the obstacle. I'm the last person. They had all gotten through it. And as I'm pulling up, they're like, hey, we're trying to like kind of hurry up so we can get on to the next thing so we're not waiting too long. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll try this line. I've done it, 3 times already, and I've done it once in this already. No problem. Blah, 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 bam, pop, spam. And they're like, yeah, you shouldn't go forward anymore. And I was like, oh.
Way to go, JK.
Yeah.
I think
Man.
that I could have gotten through there. They spotted me the same way they spotted the 80 series, which is fair. That's all of them were 80 series before me. And if I had been a little bit further over where I did it last time, it might have been a little easier for me. But also, I broke the steering stabilizer off the front, and I didn't want to keep messing around with that. I just wanted to get out of there, so I took the easy line after that and left.
I did every single bypass on the way in, and then I think one obstacle I had to back off of because I took a really terrible approach. Actually, that one that Tyson got like totally high centered on, past that little rock garden thing. I did the same line he did, and there was a 40-inch hole there for sure. And I went right in it, and I was like, "Uh-oh, this is not good." I just backed out and did it again. Everything was fine. But I was disappointed that there wasn't snow. I really last year there was snow and it was really cool. And I didn't want there to be a ton of snow because I was by myself, even though I figured I could get a hold of somebody if I had to. But I was like, when I got to, I don't know, where we got into radio contact, Colin, I was like, there's no snow up here. That's disappointing. And I didn't check. I had no idea going in.
Yeah, you got in radio contact with
hoping.
us like right after we sat there and waited for the first valve stem that got broken off.
Oh yeah.
Of that event. That was just so and it was the best part about the valve stems getting broken off was they were both green Land Cruisers. They were both imported right-hand drives. They were both diesels, and they both had the same wheels and the same valve stems.
That was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
When you look at them, the valve stems are the furthest out piece of the wheel.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we're going to get some shorter ones. And I was like, yeah.
Good call.
It's a good idea. They were the ones that you could fast deflate. So they're like hard mounted. They stick out further than the rest of the wheel. And I was just like, oh, gosh. There were some younger guys when I was trying to climb the rocky section to the side, the easy line after my break. And I got like the wheel just tucked into a rock, and I was just using that to kind of pull me up and over. And they were all like, "Oh man, your wheels! Oh, don't break the wheels! Don't mess them up!" And I was like, "Oh no! Like
They're fine.
That's not what I do. This
is okay.
This is fine.
I was standing right there and I was watching it happen. I was like, "No, this seems normal." And they're upset about it. And I just turned to them and looked at them and I was like, "They're fake beadlocks. What's it matter?" And and they were like, "Oh."
Yeah, I was like, I got these. I yelled out the windows like, I got these used, and they were like, "Oh."
That's funny.
Wouldn't it even be more okay since they're fake beadlocks?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I was the fake beadlocks. It just doesn't matter. It's gonna break some fake bolt heads off. Oh no!
Oh no!
And I'll never put them back.
No. Yeah. It was cool. It was a cool setup. I wish I would have been there for the earlier parts of it. I am still like a little cautious about my vehicle. Everything is a little still up in the air, but would have been fun to be part of the first group. On the way down, I was following a GX and the FJ Cruiser, and they were doing fine. They're great. I mean, that's not like a hard part of the trail either, but they were wheeling them just like everybody else, which was cool. But they were a little more dramatic than I expected coming down a couple of the little like ledges, and I was like, oh man, this one's a gnarly one, because I know there's one of those like 5 that's a little bit sketchy. And so as each one we went down, I was like, oh, that's the bad one, that looks bad. He lifted a wheel, and I'm like, nope, this isn't the bad
that one.
This is fine. Okay, next one, and then finally it surprised me. I was like, oh, that's the one. That's the one.
Yeah, that's the IFS.
That guy in the FJ Boogies.
Yeah. I saw the video of him doing the I think that's the hardest obstacle, if you can make it hard on that trail. That and that little rock garden are the 2 things that are actually kind of like a little serious. If you do the right line, you can go around, or you can go in the easier parts, and that's fine. But like the one hard line through there, I watched him do with the FJ, it looked like, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And manual trans, which, good, bad. And
indifferent.
Also, it's got some body damage, which is cool.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's the hardest. That might be the hardest little thing.
Yeah, they're ugly. Sorry.
Up until the new sideline up by the cave. That's to the
I watched
to the right.
I finally watched the video of that, because I didn't see that coming up, and I wouldn't have done it by myself. Yeah. But after watching the video of it, man, I would have liked to have been there, because I would have liked to try it too.
If it was dry and I was feeling confident, I can hit that hard enough. I was so close so many times, and all the guys are pointing in different direction, and no one was really.
I hate that.
It was like, go this way, go that way, bump it now, no, now, and you're like, I'm doing whatever I'm doing, but like if I had somebody who spotted me before and it was dry, that would have been no trouble. In the wet, I think we could still do it with like the right effort, but I was just a little gun shy. I don't want to hit the bottom real hard and hurt my back. I don't want to try and like limp out of there and have to work really hard at something. So I really would like to go up there next year and try and be a little more aggressive on that line specifically, because that's going to be...
it's a cool...
We've still got like 3 weeks. We can still...
It's a cool line.
Time.
I mean, I put tires on it too.
I'm moving slowly, and I'd like to work.
I just, I was just, unlike you with all the extra spotting, I only listened to 5th Gen 4Runner guy. And that was, like, I was like, nope, I'm not listening to anybody except for this guy. Because he knows how to party. That dude in his rig, those...
Oh, 1st Gen 4Runner guy.
No,
Got
5th,
it, yes.
No, 5th, 4th. Sorry. 4th Gen.
4th.
It's like Jesse's.
4th, the guy with the tons and 40.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
40.
Okay.
That guy
40 deuces,
I would have listened
Jesse.
if 1st Gen 4Runner guy.
Them's 42s.
Oh. Well, you know what? Looks like I got Gold Serrano's rig.
Yeah,
I got
that dude put himself into some really funny situations that were like he required the most recovery the entire time. he had to get pulled off of a log, and then he got stuck at the like right before the lunch spot. He like took this weird line to go like diagonally across it and got like stuck up against a tree, and it's just like it's just nothing but recovering him, even though he had probably like the most capable vehicle there outside of like what was that dude's name? Casey, maybe? Casey or
the dude with the white 80s?
The other 4Runner?
No, the
like early 4Runner with the bob one?
No, the 80 series that was on. I mean, they were at least they were.
You guys shaking it.
The white one on 40s, then the other one that's like looks like a smaller version of Jeremy's almost.
Yeah.
Not small, but 40s.
Carey. That was it, right?
I forget that guy's name.
Yeah,
Carey.
Carey.
That's right. Yeah, that sounds right.
Did you do the hard line backwards?
Yeah, he did the line that Mike broke
that's
on.
Funny. That's a Sweet Home thing, by the way.
Yep.
That is like the obsession of the mud truck. Is let me do it backwards. Okay. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys had a fun time. That's cool. Next year, I'll invade 80s on Edison with Raw Dog.
Oh my god.
Well,
I don't think it'd be very welcomed.
I mean,
And then I
I think you'd be surprised that it'd be welcomed.
The three of
We'd
us
just,
would be
it'd just be, we'd be our own group in the back.
Yeah.
I'll just stay in the middle.
Yeah, Sean's the last Land Cruiser, and then
I'm
us.
not with them.
Yeah. Yeah.